Rich, welcome back to Me, My Bike and I. In the last video we got the Honda VF750F started, and in this video, hopefully, we're going to fix a few of our little problems. It was blowing out white smoke, rattling terribly from this end, it was leaking an awful lot of fuel. It just stalled out after a couple of minutes. So that would have taken it a few miles up the road, and it was only 250 millilitres of fuel. Clearly I didn't have it rigged down here. So first things first, I'm going to take the front fairings off and start to get some access to the front of the engine. Take the upper radiator off as well. I should be able to compression test all 4 cylinders then. The rear are easily accessible, but the front are just a little buried at the moment. It's a good starting point. We need to find out if we've got any compression leakage or any dead cylinders, where from. Then we can get the rocker covers off and start to have a look at the valve clearances, see if that's somehow responsible for our rattling noise. Then we'll know what to do with it, whether to get the engine out and strip it down and rebuild it, or at least get the engine out, strip the paint off and repaint it, because at the very least I need to strip off what appears to be wood gloss. Even firing this bike up, it turns the surface of that paintwork into what looks like a stormy ocean. It's horrendous. Not to mention these ghastly rocker covers. Let's get started. I've got a bolt there on each side, under there, and a missing one there to take out. Not even sure which size screwdriver I'll need for that. Don't know if there'll be any hidden lugs up top. You'd have thought so, but there doesn't seem to be any access points, but we'll have a little look. Well, okay, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. These locate onto these rubber dowels. This is the beauty of looking at much older bikes that you're not familiar with. There must be some sort of inline fuse to something. Don't know. I'm just going to take the opportunity to straighten this bracket that's foully on the forks. Turn the steering out. Still can't turn the wheel, mind. Come back to that later. Very quickly refit the lower radiator, because I don't want too many things hanging about unless I need them to. Do a last little nip up on that sump bolt, that's okay. And let's just check that oil filter before we hide it away. Yeah, we're all good on that. Yeah. Let's drain the fluid. Well, 12mm spanner doesn't fit, but then, like everything, that's been painted over. .14 fits, but I suspect a 13 would have. I'm just going to discard this old fluid anyway. Totally forgot to take the cap off. Nothing more coming out, but that looks distinctly oily. Well, it's very dark. Cap works fine. Doesn't smell oily, and it's got no kind of film on it, so it's kind of a good sign. Let's pop that back in, don't want to lose it. Make sure you don't thread it either, that's just a plastic drain plug. Why on earth anyone would paint over that, I just don't know. Crazy. Yeah, managed to leave the ignition on as well. Absolutely dead as a dodo. So, get the old battery off again, get that back on charge. Got to disconnect it anyway. Not charging for some reason. Keep an eye on that. Okay, the battery's showing it's got less than 1 volt in it, so that's probably because I left the ignition on for days and days. Well, we should probably just put her in repair mode, I guess. See if that sorts it out. Come back to it later. Right. Let's start getting. Oh, it's too big. Wrong size. Yeah. Let's get something more appropriate. Oh dear, these are really tight. It's going to end up rounding them off, unfortunately. Get my hand in there better now. Now I can turn the steering wheel. It doesn't make them any less tight. Okay. Oh, that's not good, is it? I'm going to round that off if I'm not careful. Which I think I just have done. Sometimes you just gotta be a little bit inventive when it comes to loosening stuck fixings. I think all 4 of these are going to be very similar. Yeah, you can't go at this full on with an impact hammer, unfortunately, but one might be a little too rounded now. Yep. Okay, that was a crosshead or a Phillips or whatever you want to call it. Let's try flat blade and get that in. Just try and remake the slot really. Well, came straight out. Let's try something a little smaller. Steady as you go. So I'm going to try a T10 star bit. See if we can get any more traction that way. Doubt it. There's too much vibration in this, that's the problem, so. It doesn't really, you can't force it in, it's too shallow and too much vibration, so. Probably just going to grind it off in a minute. I think that'll be the easiest way. Yeah, let's grind it. I'm not talking about jumbo sized or even a mini angle grinder here. I'm just going to use firstly the little diamond wheel on the Von House, I think it's called, and to try and slot it and see if we can just undo it that way, and then I'm just going to grind it flat using the tip of this alloy oxide stone. Strictly speaking, it's actually the white ones that are aluminium oxide, the pink ones have got chromium and titanium oxide in, I think, to give them their pink colour. I don't know why it gives them their pink colour, but anyway, that's what they are. Let's give this one a try. Quick disclosure here, I do have my eye goggles on. Just being extremely careful not to damage the plastics. There you go. He says as it stops turning again. You just have to keep dead straight on it. Looks like it's just turning actually, it's freed up, so. Yeah, I think it's come loose. Well, it came out. You can see how far off centre I was. A little bit deeper, a little bit nearer to the centre line. It would have been a lot easier, but it's difficult to get in there, it's difficult to see what you're doing. Firstly, let's see if we can get the screwdriver to fit properly before we go twisting it. Oh, there you go, that seems to be absolutely fine, that one. I'm no stranger to stuck nuts and bolts and fixing, so never a problem. Let's see if this one gives us any trouble. It seems okay. It's just really that first one was slightly difficult, the second one needed a bit of work, and the other two are absolutely fine, so I'll need to replace all four though. Right, top hose clamp for the upper radiator, and there wasn't room to get a socket on there. It's a 7mm, but won't go over because of the clamp being in the way, but that should do. Should be loose enough now anyway. Oh, you know what these things are like, they get so stiff over time, don't they? And it's just going to pull straight off. Break a seal, as in kind of a oxidization seal rather than anything, and then wait for a load of water to pour out. Cover your eyes. That's fine. That should just come straight off. I think it's not painted on. Any specific pliers that will get this off, so we'll just use a bit of ingenuity and probably just pull this one to pieces. Leave this wheel. Some sort of bushing and fixing at the bottom, but I think that's just a push-pull fit, I think. Difficult to see this job. Turn that wheel, let's get them off of there. It should just come away. Oh, losing some fluid. I'm losing a bit more fluid. I'll bung that with my finger. Wiring harness somewhere. Okay. Yeah. Alright, it's got two fans. That's one of the harness connectors. Let's try and get that apart. Fingers and thumbs yet again. Okay, that's that one. This is the other one right here. Right, I should just come straight out now. When he says should, of course he means a bit more fiddling. Trapped wires. Okay. Mopped up that spillage down there, and there honestly doesn't seem to be any sign of oil in it, so it's a good sign. Anyway, that's what I was trying to get to, the front rocker cover, so I can get to the plugs, have a look at them, compression test the front as well as the back, and obviously get both rockers off so that I can have a look at the tappets. A few hoses and cables to move out of the way for the rear rocker cover. So I'll just disconnect the 4 HT leads, I'll mark them up. And this big thick hose here, so I think what you've got is that one there probably comes from the crankcase, that's your breather pipe. Follow that all the way there, down into that catch tank. Just goes into there, and then returns there, all the way up through this hose into the air box. That's, I think, just your standard crankcase breather mechanism, and that there just comes out of the bottom of that little catch tank, which is your drain off for it. That one there is just your expansion from the radiator going down into your little expansion bottle there. This one I think is probably just following around from your fuel line in there, straight from the tank. Let's just get that off. You can see behind it now. It's always worth pulling everything out just to see where everything runs, just in case you need to get to stuff at any point. So that's where the fuel first enters the system from the fuel tank through that filter, and just goes directly into the bottom of the fuel pump there that was hiding behind the regulator rectifier. And then from there it runs up through this pipe and all the way round and into the carbs that are buried under there. And in addition to this drain from the catch tank, you've also got this big thick pipe that comes out and runs all the way back to the crankcase there for some reason. And then of course if you want to adjust the preload on the shock, I guess this is how you get to it. Well, I shall leave that as it is for now, I think. Easier getting it out, that's for sure. I do not know what is wrong with this battery, and I need a working battery in order to crank the bike to compression test it. But this has been on charge now for 3-4 hours and it's not even taking a charge. You should be getting progress bars there, and when I just check the voltage, it's got something in the order of about 1 volt. Thought maybe the charger was malfunctioning, but as you can see, it charges. This battery's no use for the bike, it's too small and it's got a broken terminal that side. The other battery over in the corner there's got 2 broken terminals and they're both too small. So I'm going to have to go and get a new battery before I can do the compression test, I'm afraid. In the meantime, I think I'll get the airbox off and start getting the carburetors out. Carry on regardless. I definitely left the ignition on, so that's definitely what's drained it. You wouldn't have expected it to have fried it, so a bit strange. I mean, it must have been charging, because before I put the bike to bed, after the last episode of getting her running, I checked the voltage across the battery terminals and it was all good, so I'm confident it's charging okay. We haven't got an issue there, but obviously I can check the charging output to make sure, which I will do. But guess what? I need to be able to crank the bike and get her running to do that. So bolt there, missing bolt there, need to replace that. Actually, it's a broken bracket, so it's as tight as those coils are going to get. Don't like these clips. Just pull them off and replace them with a decent hose clip. That's the second one of those type I've discarded. I'm not going to take all these low tension wires off their terminals because they look like they've been botched on. Oh, that's not even tight. When I say not even tight, not even finger tight. So I'm just going to lift these away just so that I can get them off the airbox, that's all. Fix that, but shouldn't be a problem. So this should have 5 screws holding it on, one there missing, one there missing, one there, there and there. This one seems a little rounded. Yeah, it's definitely rounded off. That one looks a bit rounded as well. You can tell when they're rounded because if you turn it clockwise, it's a good bite. If you turn it anti-clockwise, it just spins out. I'm turning at least. Okay, let's slot it, nice and easy to get to anyway. I think this one is okay. So that's another screw I'm going to need to measure up to get some replacements. I need to take this off before I can get this out. Yeah, I think I probably will. Me. There's a screw of a different type, so yeah, this airbox arrangement has definitely been messed with before. Didn't have to take that lid off at all, so I've just popped it back on and looking fairly good underneath. Pop these back in as per usual. pop what I've got left of these screws back into their original places, but I will need to get some replacements for those. Out of the 5 that should be there, 2 are missing, 1's damaged. Okay. Okay, 8 screws in here. Don't think you need to take these boots out first, not sure. But fortunately, I have found myself exactly the right bit to fit into these screws or bolts. The bench is slowly filling up, so I need to start grouping things together a little bit better, I think. That carburetor is the one that I saw that was leaking. I don't know about the condition of the other 3, but I've got a rebuild kit on order. So the firing order of this bike is 1, 3, 4, 2, I think, from memory. But this is number 1, that's number 2, 3, and 4. But it fires 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 3, 4, 2 in that order. Just loosening off the throttle cable, and this is like soaking wet around the lever. And I'm beginning to think I've been sold a bit of a pup. I'm not sure if it's the dealer or the previous owner that's covered up a multitude of sins with paint. This is covered in fluid. It's like the whole thing's leaking. I mean, so much of this bike needs taking apart and fixing, rebuilding, replacing. Let's turn this in all the way as far as we can, and then that loosens it off apparently. Easy to do with your fingers. Right. Yeah, that's loose now. Cool. Right, let's get the old choke cable off. As usual, some access. That was nice and loose. Just put some gloves on this time, just keep the old hands a little bit cleaner. Right, I'm just about to undo the clamp on the carburetor for the front right. So this is number 4. This is the actual clamp nearest to the carb. That one is the one that clamps the boot to the engine. As you can see, it's very loose. Okay, this one's the rear cylinder, right hand side, so number 3. And again, we're just going to undo that one there, which is nearest to the carb. Probably blocking your sight now. Very loose again. And this is the number 1 cylinder. Again, very, very loose. So this is on the left hand side of the bike. Very accessible, but yeah, look at that, so loose. Dead easy to get to. This is the next one we want to get to right there. So that's again on the carb side, that's on the engine side of the boot. Look how loose it is. I've not even put a screwdriver on that. I'd be surprised if there weren't vacuum leaks. But anyway, get this one out, or off, or loose. And that's ridiculous. So this is the number 2 cylinder anyway. Right, just need to pull this fuel line off. Another Jubilee clip there for some reason. Okay. We can do them individually. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Right, let's move this number 1 cylinder HT lead out of the way. And see if we can lift these up a little bit. Oh yeah. Right, just need to loosen off these size. Is that an 11? Pick up an 11mm. Who uses 11mm? Right, I just need to detach the throttle cable, so it's just to slacken the lock nut off, I think. What's that one? Right, and I need to back that top one off now. This is going to be fun, putting it all back. Not. I think getting them apart is probably the easy bit, and easy. Putting them back together is going to be a right pig, I think. Just take it out of that little wheel. Oh, it's not easy. Right. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to be all kind of higgly jiggly like that. So, anyway. Does that go in there? I think so. Yeah, these are sort of collapsed. Probably just all the O-rings and stuff, which I suspect are all part of the new kit, because it did seem to have quite a lot of O-rings and things like that in it. There we go, that looks vaguely like vaguely how they should be. Okay. which side was which now. Okay, right, well, sort of throttle wheel and stuff down there, I think, isn't it? I'm not sure. No, there it is down there. Right. Right, I think they are approximately back together, how they should be. And as I mentioned, I've got a new kit on the way, rebuild kit, and that should contain all of the little O-rings that sort of connect all these, you know, where all these pipes go into each carb and stuff like that. So because a lot of those that just seem to pop out really easily, the O-rings were really sort of flatted off, etc. So yeah, so this is number one, because that's where the fuel pipe goes in, just there, look. And so yeah, I'm just going to take these apart and give them a bit of a clean, make sure all of these slides are moving freely, check the diaphragms, change the jets, clean all that horrid paint off. And it was this one, the number one carburetor, that had the leak from the float bowl drain screw, I think it was, so that should have a tiny little O-ring. So it's little things like that, really. But you know, all in all, when I put them back on, we'll certainly make sure they're all tightened up on the boots and there's no vacuum leaks or anything like that, because clearly they were very loose. So it's all open and exposed now. I need to fit the new battery before I can crank it over and compression test all 4 pots, and that's going to be a few days before I can do that. So I'm going to probably wrap up on this particular video now, and I want to compression test it before I take the rocker covers off and check the valve clearances. So I like this engine, I think it's pretty interesting. You've got cam chains that run through the centre, you can see that really from the reliefs that are in the rocker covers, and the absence of cam chain tensioners on the blocks externally is quite noticeable on this engine, because they are actually, I think, automatically adjusted internally, and it's quite a fiddly mechanism by all accounts. But I thought I'd show you just the top end oiling system on this and why it's so bad. So what you've got right there on the left side of the engine is, you can just see a union there on a banjo bolt, which is an oil feed which comes directly from the oil pump. And by directly I mean it doesn't even go through the oil filter, and then it runs around here and finds its way in, and then all the way up to there, splits off and goes to there, the rear rocker, and then continues on its path and then goes to the front rocker, and then that is the oiling system for the cams, and it's inadequate, and that's why the cams on these engines suffer, because that's a secondary feed that comes from the oil pump, as I said, unfiltered. It goes through the transmission first to oil that, and then up to this union, and then up to the cams. So it's a very weak supply, and what a lot of people do is they cap that off and they put a back plate on the filter, and they put a spur off of that, and then they run lines from there directly again back up to the unions on the top of the engine block under the rockers, which is a higher pressure feed by all accounts, and far better clearly than what is there and what Honda designed into the engine. The bike is looking more naked than ever now. Well, depending on the outcome of the compression test and carb rebuild and the valve clearance check and adjustment, really will determine whether or not I just put this bike back together and see how she runs, because that may very well have dealt with the poor running and the rattling and the white smoke, etc. But it would seem a shame to get this far and not pull the engine out and deal with that horrible paintwork, and I feel that's probably best done with the engine apart, and it will also give me the opportunity to clear out the last vestiges of all that milky, murky oil that drained out of it the first time, and it will give me an opportunity to fully understand the inner workings of this particular engine and perhaps see where some of those knocks, noises and rattles are actually coming from, and even deal with some of them possibly, or just not worry about them. But I think that's probably the route I'm going to take. So I do need to wait for this battery to turn up and the carb rebuild kit before I can do anything else, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you on the next video.